Now making their way to the microphone, it's Daniel Cormier and Ariel Helwani.
Back in your life on this first week of December 2020.
Are we sure?
Hello again.
I mean, are we sure?
Yes, we are sure.
Are we sure?
Well, yes, we are
First
sure.
week of December?
We are sure.
Even though technically it is November.
Today's the last day of November, but tomorrow, if someone's watching or listening to this, it will be the first day of December. And technically, this is the first week of December. So I'm trying to cover it's one of those awkward times.
It's one of those things, right? It's one of those things that I constantly try to talk you off the ledge from doing. It's like, don't be Ariel, right? There's so many situations, guys, that I have to ask this dude, don't be Ariel. Don't go Ariel on me. And this is one of those things where he insisted that we had to say the first week of December, even though technically we're still in November for another day. Because look, like my kid asked me last week, man, people start putting up Christmas decorations. Yep. He was like, why? What about Thanksgiving? Like everybody wants to rush through November to get to December when I'm here. I'm living in today. I'm living in November for one more day because it's one of my favorite months, right? Hey, election was this month.
Yep.
Thanksgiving was this month. This is a good month. Live in November. For the last
I wanted to encompass the entire week. Let me just tell everyone, you're watching DC and Helwani, fastest growing show here at ESPN. That is DC, Daniel Cormier in DC. How about that?
Yes,
DC.
Yes, it works.
It works. Talk about synergy, man. You talk about, and I'm Helwani, Ariel Helwani. By the way, your Thanksgiving, I trust that it was a good one. Yeah, you had jerk chicken or whatever it was, jerk turkey.
It was fantastic.
Or
okay, it was supposed to be a jerk turkey, right? Yes. It was fantastic, and I talked to my buddy El all week about it. But then Selena pulled the plug. Her and her sister both panicked about the virus. I swear. She was worried about, we have a little nephew named Bronze who's too young to wear a mask. So he would have had to flown on the plane with no mask.
Oh, no, you can't do that.
Selena's sister did not want to do that to her son too young. Selena did not want people flying into the house from Los Angeles, which is a hotbed for the virus. So at the 23rd hour, it was over. There was no jerk turkey to be had by me, but it was still a fantastic Thanksgiving. But I looked
had turkey.
I had turkey. Okay. I had turkey, but I did not have the jerk turkey. And Elle had it back home and told me that it was fantastic. So,
well,
I wait for the next time.
As you said, Thanksgiving has come and gone, but of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't wish you and your family a happy National Mason Jar Day. Today is National Mason Jar Day. It's a very big deal. We all got a mason jars today.
National Mason Jar Day.
Yes.
National Mason Jar Day.
Yes, that. So
what do you do?
So please be sure to.
Do you just Google and hope that there's a holiday every Monday? Like, what could be the most far out holiday I can find for this dude? Because I know this dude hasn't heard of any Mason Jar days. Like, what?
We drink out of mason jars here, the Helwani household. We recycle them and drink out of them. And I want to remind everyone.
The only thing I ever saw in the mason jar was figs. Back in Louisiana, they put figs in there, and they would make them do something before they turn them into pies in Louisiana, like National Mason Jar Day.
Well, that is
a great
story.
How's that a holiday?
And a great cause.
Mason Jar's a holiday. How is that a holiday?
Listen, I don't make the rules. I don't make the holidays.
Mason Jar Day and tell me we're gonna move on to the next thing. How is that a holiday?
DC.
Who celebrates that?
I just celebrate them, okay? I don't make the rules around here. Now, you talk about a great cause. I have an even better cause for you, Daniel Cormier, because you may be wondering right now why I'm wearing a T-shirt. Usually I'm here, nice button down. Yeah, plaid shirt usually. This time, I'm stepping things up. I am wearing, DC, a Booyah T-shirt. You can see it right over here. It says Booyah on it. And this is a very important and special T-shirt for many reasons. DC, as you may know, this is the 14th annual V Week. And of course, this is a big deal here at ESPN. The Stuart Scott Memorial Research Fund is a very big deal. And this shirt is in honor of the late, great Stuart Scott, who was an icon at ESPN. Unfortunately, several years ago, he passed away after his long and inspiring fight with cancer. And this weekend, DC, as you may recall, because I think that you called the event last week, it's the UFC Fight Like Hell Fight Night. this weekend. The show on December 5th, headlined by Jack Hermanson and now Marvin Vittori, which we'll get to later in the program. We have so much to talk about on today's show between UFC this past weekend, the boxing and all that stuff. But I did want to let everyone know, DC, that you can go to stuart.threadless.com to purchase this Booyah t-shirt in honor of the late, great Stuart Scott. $25 of every shirt sold will go directly to the Stuart Scott Memorial Cancer Fund, and it will help raise awareness by we are going to do this. I'm going to wear this. I'm going to post it on social media and all that stuff. And also, if you go to stuart.threadless.com, you can get one of these shirts. This V-Week runs, the 14th annual V-Week runs from December 1st to December 12th. And a little bit about the V Foundation. This particular Cancer Memorial Research Fund in honor of Stuart Scott was established in 2015 after his passing. It's going to be almost 6 years, DC, in January since he passed. The goal is to stop disparities in cancer diagnosis and outcomes among minority populations. And by the way, the fund has raised more than $10.5 million in grants distributed since 2015. And again, this event on Saturday is the Fight Like Hell UFC Fight Night. It's on ESPN2 and ESPN Plus. So go right now to stuart.threadless.com to buy this Booyah t-shirt. And that's where you can learn more about the Stuart Scott Cancer Memorial Research Fund. I'm wearing the shirt. I noticed that you are not wearing the shirt.
Wait, stop. Stop. Listen, as you said, it's very important at ESPN to honor the great Stuart Scott, right? I remember one time I was in Baltimore, I believe, and Stuart was coming out of a hotel, and it was the first time I ever laid eyes on him. And I just remember that he had changed the way sports broadcasting felt, right? It wasn't so straightforward, right? It was hip hop, it was rap, it was pop culture references. He just changed the way people covered sports. And so I remember watching the ESPY speech, and it was just so touching. And this is a great cause. And I remember last year watching, as I spoke about my father, as Paul Felder spoke about his father, and watching the amount of money that was raised on the night of the fights. It was truly inspiring. Now I go back. I am not wearing my shirt because ESPN still trusts me to be responsible. At times they shouldn't, because I got my shirt at home and I was supposed to take it. I forgot I was coming to Washington, D.C. So when I packed in a hurry, as I always am, I forgot the shirt. But Ariel, it is important to me, as I am part of the ESPN family now. So I made an effort, right? I made a phone call.
A+ effort.
I made a phone call out to Washington, D.C. to my friend Teague Moore, who's the head coach at American University. I said, Teague, do you know a t-shirt shop? He goes, no, but I have a print thing that my daughters make shirts with. And he goes, let's try to throw them together. Send me the logo. So he did. And first, this one here was the first attempt, right?
It's not a bad attempt, if you ask me.
It's not bad. It's just Booyah, right? Like, we didn't get the logos on there, but you can see this. You can see the print. You can see the screen print. Then, but oh no, that was the second attempt. First attempt was pretty bad, actually. This he almost insisted I didn't wear this one. Okay. This was not a good attempt. I mean, right? It was white. This does not look like what you're wearing at all in the least bit. So we didn't wear this one. Now, this morning I tried to wear this one. I thought this one was a pretty good one, right? Because we got the logos and everything. Yeah. I think it looks great. It's screen printed on. We decided not to, but I will be putting this on my social media because I believe the cause is so special. But look, I made an attempt.
Oh, you made a great attempt. In fact, I think you got sent 2 t-shirts, right? I mean,
it means enough to me to try, right? Yeah. It means enough to me to try, and I gave it a shot. Now, I'm going to wear mine proudly, and I'm going to definitely put it up on my social media because any way to help, as I've been touched by cancer so close to my family, I'm all in.
For those maybe non-American fans who didn't grow up with Stuart Scott like you and I did, Booyah was one of his catchphrases.
Yeah.
And like you said, he sort of revolutionized the way SportsCenter highlights were read. For me, growing up, I grew up in Canada, and you know the first introduction that I had to ESPN was Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann. They were the big show on SportsCenter, right? And I would go on vacation with my family, and I was blown away by SportsCenter because they would play it all morning. There was like a loop, right? And in Canada, when I was growing up, they never talked about basketball, and I loved basketball. And then I come to America. I remember being in Boston at a hotel with my family, and I'm like, whoa, this channel talks about the NBA. I love the NBA. And initially I was introduced to Patrick and Olbermann, but they were a little bit older. Then I'm introduced to Stuart Scott, who was the coolest guy on TV. and Rich Eisen, and what a great duo they were. Scott would word, like with phrases like cooler than the other side of the pillow. Remember those? I like the way you work it. No diggity. He would use, rap lines in his highlight reads, and it was mind blowing as, a teenager. Like, this guy is so cool. All the players respected him when he would do like when the NBA champion would get the award, he would be there. It was just so cool.
Yeah.
And, I got to tell you, 1999, I'm at game 2 of the Eastern Conference semis. Knicks and Hawks, remember 1999 lockout season, Knicks were the 8th seed going into the playoffs, beat the Miami Heat on a last second shot by the great Allen Houston in game 5 to advance, knocking off the first seeded Miami Heat, then played the Atlanta Hawks, the 4th seed in the second round. And I went to game 2 was in Atlanta, game 3 in New York City, the first playoff game I ever went to with my beloved New York Knicks. And I remember seeing Stuart Scott hosting the post-game coverage from the court, and I was with my friend Mo Liebman, and I was like, oh my God, there's Stuart Scott. I couldn't care less about any player. And I waited, and I stuck my hand down, and he gave me a fist bump. Stuart Scott, and my friend, as you're seeing it right now, my friend took a picture of it. I have a picture of me fist bumping Stuart Scott. I was so excited that
Mind
day.
blown.
An icon.
Mind blown.
When you saw him in Baltimore, did you talk to him?
Bro, I was so scared. I said Stuart Scott, and I waved. He just kind of waved, but like I was a little bit of a way. I was wrestling back then, and I didn't have many interactions with celebrities, right? So I didn't know what those interactions would lead to. And remember, I told you my interactions with some NBA players back in 2004 weren't the best. So I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get dogged out, but he didn't. He waved and he went along his business. And plus, like, as you move into life, like, and in my life today, I understand that by not imposing myself was probably the best thing, because it's very difficult at times to just kind of do your own thing sometimes. So I was happy that I saw him there, and I saw him again afterwards, but I remember seeing Stuart Scott and I just knew he just changed it, right? Because it was all the way back to when the way Berman would read the NFL highlights. It was like, it was starting to kind of loosen up. And then Stuart Scott, man, it just sounded like someone that would speak like I spoke. Right, he would say some of the things that I said, and it just felt good to see it on TV.
It's people like Stuart Scott, and I'll never forget when I found out that he passed. It was heartbreaking. People like him that made me want to come and work for ESPN, who made me want to dream. It felt like the coolest place to work. And so, what was so cool about Stuart towards the end of his life, and he died at such a young age, was the fact that he actually took a great liking to mixed martial arts.
He did. Started training.
He started training and also like championed the cause, I'm told, within ESPN to start covering him more. I believe he trained one time with Tyron Woodley. There's footage of him training, and it helped him greatly. He was, trying to stay in shape and whatnot, and was a big proponent of the sport and a big supporter of the sport. So I think it's really cool that this event, like last year's event in Washington, I do believe that was I believe, was it in Washington?
Yeah, it was in Washington.
It was
in Washington, yeah.
Is the Fight Like Hell event. Why is it called the Fight Like Hell event? Because prior to his passing at the ESPYs, Stuart Scott gave an amazingly inspiring
speech. One of the greatest speeches I've ever witnessed live.
And he said to fight like hell, that you got to keep fighting and you got to keep moving forward. So
you're sitting there watching that, and his family comes up on stage afterwards, and you're like, wow, this is tremendous, right? Because it was visible. You could see Stuart had changed, right? He was in a long battle with the disease, and you could see that he was wasn't going to give up on himself. And it was inspiring. And it's all these, Jimmy V Foundation, like he said, in cooperation with the Jimmy V Foundation. Like when Jimmy V gave that speech at the ESPYs, we have seen some of the single greatest speeches of all time at the ESPYs by people that we have held on high for so long. So fantastic cause. Happy to be a part of it in the way that we can today, being that I'm not on the broadcast this weekend, but truly, truly inspired by Stuart Scott, Jimmy Valvano, and everybody else that have fought to try to help fight this nasty disease.
Yeah, I don't know a single adult who hasn't been affected by cancer in one way, shape, or form, like you, and the way you spoke about it last year. My father-in-law had stage 4 cancer, colon cancer. He is now the president of his own Canadian Cancer Association Foundation, where they try to raise awareness for cancer research. So very similar to what the V Foundation does. My uncle passed away of colon cancer. So everyone's been affected. It's a great cause. Again, go to stuart.threadless.com to buy this t-shirt. Booyah, it's cool. Carolina blue. and you can support it. It's all for a great cause. So we wanted to talk about that at the top of the show, and that's this weekend's fight night. Let's talk about last weekend's fight night. All right, let's talk about what happened. So we thought that the main event was going to be Derrick Lewis against Curtis Blaydes. Unfortunately, on Friday morning, we found out that Curtis Blaydes was out of the fight. He had to withdraw after testing positive for COVID-19. And so the main event, I should say, got canceled. And so they bumped up Anthony Smith versus Devin Clark. Now, what would happen afterwards was really interesting, DC, because as we know, in this crazy time, when these co-main events are getting bumped up, recently they've been doing them as a 3-round main event, right?
Fight, yeah.
The guys aren't training for 5 rounds. Everyone understands. My understanding was Anthony Smith called the UFC and said, I wanted 5 rounds. He was preparing for a 3-round fight, as was Devin Clark. My understanding was several top executives at the UFC said, sure, 5 rounds, great for us. Main event, why not? Dana White, for whatever reason, said, let's just do it 3 rounds. Let's just keep it as it was, 3 rounds. Anthony Smith called Dana White himself and said, I want 5 rounds. Give me 5 rounds. And he convinced them, and they went 5 rounds. In the end, they didn't need it.
It went like a minute.
Yeah, only one. But I thought that was a really interesting thing. And when you consider the fact that Anthony Smith has had a very tough year, lost 2 fights, got beat up really badly by Glover Teixeira and everything that happened in that fight with his corner, then lost to Alexander Rakic, plus the home invasion. It's been a really tough year for Anthony Smith. The question I ask you is Anthony Smith back, or did he just beat a guy who maybe isn't at his level?
Anthony Smith is still very viable in that weight class. I really believe that. With that being said, very impressive performance. I thought he did great. Him asking for a 5-round fight, very courageous. And the fact that you can convince Dana to do anything is very, very important to you and your standing in the promotion. But he beat Devin Clark, who has shown improvement, right? Devin has gotten better, but Devin Clark is not a guy that is fighting at the top of the division, right? So Anthony, it's good for him to get a victory in that way, but he has to go out and beat another guy. Go beat the guys that he did before. Because reality is, he's very valuable to the weight class, and he's so good and so tough and so skilled, but those are the fights that you're supposed to win, right? You're supposed to win that fight on Saturday. He did. Now he can go back to building himself up towards another championship fight.
When this fight was announced, I reached out to Anthony. I have a good relationship with him. I have no problem saying I think he's truly one of the good guys in this sport, has a great heart, is turning into a great broadcaster as well. He's great on the desk, but is just a good guy, right? Yeah. And I said, welcome back. Do you like the fight? I was just curious. And I'll be honest, and I don't want to speak for him, but this was the conversation we had. He wasn't all that psyched about the matchup. He felt like,
it was a step down. A bit of a step down. Yeah. Well, that's what happened when the fight was announced. It was like, I spoke to you about this a while back. I don't know exactly who we were talking about. It was Tyron Woodley. And I was like, Tyron needs a guy that kind of is a little bit back in the rankings. But how do you do that with a former champion that has defended his belt so many times? Anthony got that, right? So even though he may not have liked it, he got that. He needed that reset. So in the long run, this will be good for him. Because
absolutely,
you get to feel good about yourself after a victory. And you heard him say it at the press conference. He's like, I almost forgot what winning felt like.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's crazy to see for a guy that's as talented as Anthony Smith. But when you're fighting killers like Jones, Teixeira, Rakic, like you can lose those fights. And he lost those fights. So it felt good to take a step back, feel good about yourself, and start to move back forward in the rankings and on a path towards trying to become a contender again, because right now he isn't. But I thought it was a good place for Anthony.
We love MMA and the UFC because they're very rarely at the top, right? In the major leagues of MMA, there are rarely tune-up fights, right? You don't see that. You see that a lot more in boxing. I don't mind tune-up fights, especially in a case like this. If Devin Clark wins, you got a new name, and if not, Anthony gets his mojo back. He gets his confidence back. You cannot overlook how important the feeling is of getting your hand raised. And that's what I said to Anthony. Do what you got to do, get back on track, and then you'll get those big dogs afterwards. And I just feel like looking at him, like it felt like an 800-pound gorilla was taken off his shoulders, right? He got a win, a finish, a submission, a quick one, right? Now let's see, because I got to be honest with you, DC, after the Glover fight, I was worried about Anthony. And then after that fight, when he comes back so soon and fights an up-and-comer like Alexander Rakic, and look the way he did. He looked listless. Remember what we talked about it? He looked listless.
He didn't look as good. Yeah, he didn't look as good. He didn't look as good physically. He didn't look as good like he was as prepared up top.
Exactly.
He was too fast.
So this is just what the doctor ordered for him, right? This was perfect for Anthony Smith. I was happy to see him get his hand raised. I was happy to see him back on track. And now there's a lot of options. You know, after the fight, they were talking about Paul Craig, who had a nice win over Shogun Hua. And I think that's a good fight. But I want to offer you a different kind of fight. I want to offer you a better fight. I want to see, I think the time is now, dare I say, Anthony Smith, Luke Rockhold. Let's go.
Oh,
Let's go.
That's a fight. That's a fight.
Go.
That's another fight. Yeah, that's a good fight. I think Luke coming back and fighting Anthony Smith. I think they had some bad blood a while back.
They had bad blood. Remember when he lost to Jones, Luke was kind of saying that he was a scrub and all that stuff. And Anthony got really mad about that. Remember, he got really he felt disrespected and he went after him at the press conference. There's bad blood there. Luke is coming back, right?
I wouldn't mind seeing Luke and Anthony if Luke came back, but I would honestly prefer Luke back at 185. I'd prefer Luke to go back to 185 and fight there. That's just where he's more natural. I mean, he's, and hey, guess what? The Jan Blachowicz loss in hindsight doesn't look all that bad anymore, right?
Not at all.
It does not look all that bad anymore. Everybody talk, Luke Rockhold's done. He got knocked out by Jan Blachowicz. He got knocked out by Yoel Romero. Like, who doesn't?
Right.
Jan Blachowicz, that loss now does not look as bad as it did in that moment. So I'd like to see him come back, but I'd like to see him fight at 185. So I love the fight. I think the bad blood sells itself. And for a guy like Luke right now, who's lost a few times in a row, a couple times, 2 or 3, he's lost 2 in a row or 3? 2, right?
Off the top of my head, he lost to
Romero,
and then Romero and then Jan.
3?
No, Romero and Jan.
Romero and
Jan
over
David Branch.
He's lost 2.
Yeah.
Yes. So he's lost 2 in a row. I'd like to see him in those fun fights, right? Those fun fights. Like him and Anthony Smith is a fun fight that it starts off as a fight that just 2 guys that don't like each other, but the winner comes out if they look good. You're like, oh man, maybe this guy is viable still. Maybe he's still a contender. So yeah, I think it's a good one. But hey, Paul Craig, it's like okay, that's a great fight too. I mean, that's a great fight with him and Paul Craig too. It probably is more. It's probably more right for the division and where the division's going. But who can? I mean, you and I both love a fun fight.
Yeah, the bad blood is so much fun, and Anthony's such a nice, mild-mannered guy that
him rag the way he did to Luke, it changed him, right? Like it changed him. I know.
The other one that also makes sense is Thiago Santos, who beat Anthony at 185, and then he moved up, and Thiago's coming off a loss. To kind of makes sense. They both lost to Jones, so there are options for him now that he won. There are options, and I'm happy about that because, like I said, he's one of the good guys in the sport.
I like Anthony Smith. I really do. And it was good for Anthony to get back and win against someone, and regardless of what you think of Devin Clark, who had shown a lot of improvement. One thing that stood with me with Devin Clark, one time I spoke to him, he told me he had never been in a fist fight in his whole life.
Wow.
So I was like, wow, this guy, he's not like, Devin is not naturally a fighter, right? He's a guy that's an athlete that has learned and taught himself to be okay inside of an octagon, which is absurd, but he's never been in a fist fight. So he's not just this natural fighter per se. But Anthony needs to go beat someone else now because there are a lot of people that speak of Anthony, and he beat Rashad, he beat Shogun, and he beat Gustafson, right, on the way to the title.
And
right?
No, Gustafson was after the title.
So he beat Rashad, he beat Shogun, he beat somebody else that was kind of older to get a title shot. Who's the third one?
Gosh, now I'm
and then people were like, "Oh, he never really deserved to fight for the championship." Like it was odd. So for him to go and beat Gustafson, now win another 205 fight, if he can go put one of those bigger names on his resume, I think it would really help people to respect what he brings to this weight class.
Volkan Ozdemir was the other one.
Ozdemir,
right, and title shot.
Yeah, so it's like people were like, "Oh man, this wasn't the hardest path to a title shot." I mean, I fought Volkan for the belt.
Come on, don't laugh at Volkan. All right, so there's a few like, I guess things that happened in the aftermath of this or as a result of this change. So let's go through them if we can. Curtis Blaydes Derrick Lewis was supposed to happen. I love that fight. It was an important fight in the heavyweight division, but now of course it's not happening. Initially, I was told that it was going to happen in December. It doesn't look like it's going to be December, at least for now. Maybe January. Do we agree that this is still the fight to make, despite the fact that it got delayed?
I do. I mean,
wait, you're even thinking about this? Like, it's an obvious one.
No, I do. Listen, because I'm thinking of something. I'm thinking of something. I'm thinking of other things, right?
What are you thinking of?
Listen to this, right? Just listen to this.
Okay.
Jones needs a fight.
Oh, stop it.
Listen. Jones needs a heavyweight fight, right?
We went through this.
Just listen. Jones needs a heavyweight fight. I say move Blaydes, right, to Jones.
You're insane. You're insane.
Listen, just let me finish.
Okay.
Move Blaydes to Jones. Lewis, Rosenstrike. Those are two real good fights. Listen, Ariel, it makes all the sense in the world because one, Jones beats Blaydes. Nobody will ever say he doesn't belong at heavyweight. Blaydes beats Jones. Blaydes beats Jones. Now he has beaten the greatest of all time in people's mind. Going up to heavyweight, he'll get his title shot right away. I think that's what you do. I know. And plus, Derrick Lewis, I love Derrick. Derrick said he's an All-American NCAA wrestler last week. Derrick's out of his mind. But Derrick's going to go get taken down by Curtis Blaydes over and over again. It's what's going to happen. But if Derrick fights Jorginho Rosenstrike, they're going to be standing and banging in that small octagon. This makes all the sense in the world. You can sit here and pout and go, oh, this is the fight.
You're nuts. The money fight is John Jones fighting at heavyweight for the belt, not John Jones fighting Curtis Blaydes. Are you crazy?
It doesn't matter who he fights at heavyweight. No, it does not matter. No, it does not matter who Jones fights at heavyweight. Jones at heavyweight, it's a big deal.
So you're pulling the plug right now on Blaydes Lewis, and you're
putting Lewis with Rosenstrike, Jones Blaydes. I'm getting two fights, and I'm putting Jones and Blaydes on the same card as Miocic and Ngannou. And now, if somebody pulls out, I'm putting Jones into that title fight.
John Jones is a main event fighter. John Jones' heavyweight debut has to be a main event. Are you kidding me?
Dude, listen. Or put him 2 weeks, the pay-per-views, month and month. Jones has to be a main event. You're right. I agree. Jones' heavyweight debut needs to be main event. Put him in the pay-per-view the month before Ngannou. I
don't know if John Jones, Curtis Blaydes is a pay-per-view main event.
It is a pay-per-view. If John Jones is fighting in a main event, it's a pay-per-view. Belt or no belt.
Well, I agree with that.
That was kind of crazy though, right? Yeah. You were one of the biggest people that would say every main event doesn't have to have a title on the line. Yeah. They can still I'm telling you right now that Jones versus Blaydes is a pay-per-view main event. It is.
I just think you're playing with fire because if Curtis Blaydes wins, you don't get to capitalize on John Jones.
But then guess what, though? Then Curtis Blaydes becomes the guy that beat the guy. And now you can
Why can't we just do Curtis Blaydes versus Derrick Lewis?
I don't believe.
You don't think Derrick Lewis could beat Curtis Blaydes? That's what you're saying.
No, man. I never said that. I'm saying that I feel
Sounds like you're saying.
I said him and Rosenstrike is a much funner fight because they're going to be throwing blows out there. And then I believe that Curtis Blaydes and Jones is a great fight at heavyweight because first Curtis Blaydes gets the big name. That's the one thing that he's missing. Sure. And Jones also gets that very high level contender to give himself that championship fight against Miocic.
Derrick Lewis, a former title contender.
Bro, I hear you, my brother. I hear you, my brother. I really do. That makes all the sense in the world. And everybody in the back, Ariel, like I know you don't have it on grid view where you can see everyone.
Sure.
I see everybody. They're all like going like this.
No, you guys are.
They're all agreeing with me in the back right now. To all the people in the back, to all of you in the back, do you feel DC? They're all like, yeah, DC, we feel you. That's the four that should happen.
We'll agree to disagree on that one. But then COVID-19 rears its ugly head and affects this weekend's main event as well, because we were supposed to get Jack Hermansson versus Darren Till. Then it became Jack Hermansson versus Kevin Holland, potential 2020 fighter of the year. Then we find out on Saturday morning, Kevin Holland is out and in enters my good bud, Marvin Vettori. So Marvin Vettori, the Italian.
Mad at me too.
He's mad at you now.
Vettori, man?
What's he mad about?
Marvin Vettori hates me, bro. Marvin Vettori hates me for some reason.
Guilty by association. Marvin Vettori hates everyone.
Marvin Vettori sent me a message on Twitter. Was like, get DC off the commentary. He's terrible. I'm like, Marvin Vettori, what is wrong with you?
You know how you spell Marvin Vettori? Hater. That's how you spell
You know what Marvin Vettori is mad about?
What?
He was mad because he felt like when I called his fight versus Israel Adesanya, I did not give him enough credit. He told me this. Look, hats off to Marvin. He said it in my face, right? He didn't say it behind my back. We went to a fighter meeting in Jacksonville. He came right up to me. He told me, he goes, hey, I go, what's the problem? He said, DC, you're going to call my fight more down the middle this time? He goes, because last time against Israel Adesanya, I felt like you were giving him so much credit. I said, Marvin, I've said constantly that you fought him better than anybody else. Like, I don't know what else I can do. But he told me, and he didn't fight that night in Jacksonville. I don't recall. Has he fought lately?
Yeah, he fought it at the Apex.
But did I call the fight? Was it one of the ones that I might have been on? I mean, who was he fighting against?
Gosh, you're putting me on the spot with these random fights here all day.
You know all this stuff, bro. You know all this.
Listen, Marvin Vettori ain't top of mind for me.
Just answer the question. When did Marvin fight last? And I might have called the fight. Marvin. I don't know. Maybe.
Let me just pull it up here. He fought Carl Roberson.
I mean, I probably was
on
there.
The Cynthia Calvillo, Jessica I fight. I don't think you called.
No, I wasn't there. I didn't call that fight, right? But like, it obviously it didn't. The explanation I gave him didn't suffice because he's still on the internet, like taking shots at me.
Exactly. I'm not surprised about all that because he thinks the whole world is out against him. Here's
why.
The bottom line. I don't know. The bottom line is he's a great fighter. He's got a big opportunity. Props to him for taking this fight on a week's notice because he was supposed to fight Jacare at 256 in 2 weeks. Now he's getting a main event fight, and it's a great fight for Europe as well because you have two European fighters going toe-to-toe. The question is, in a weird way, okay, so would you agree, and I hope he doesn't take this the wrong way.
He will. He will.
Better matchup for Jack. Holland or Vettori?
I don't think either one of them is a great matchup for Jack Hermanson. I think it's a wash.
You think Jack Hermanson's losing?
I think Marvin Vettori is really good. Okay, I think Marvin Vettori is really good, regardless of his personality. I think Marvin Vettori is really, really good. I think honestly, it's hard. You shouldn't ask me questions like this, right? Because it make it feel like I'm disrespecting somebody. I think Jack Hermanson trying to take Kevin Holland down. I mean, Kevin has looked so good lately, man. I don't know. It's a tough match. Either match was tough. I do believe that Marvin Vettori is be hard for him to get that fight to the ground.
He's a strong guy.
Strong, big.
The Diaz brothers, by the way. Maybe that's why he's so mad at everyone.
The who?
The Diaz brothers.
Marvin Vettori trains with the Diaz brothers?
He has, yeah.
He trains with King's MMA. He trains with Capiel Cordero.
No, but I'm saying he has trained with the Diaz brothers.
But I don't know. But I think Marvin Vettori is a very tough matchup for Marvin Vettori is a tough matchup for everybody. He's good. He's
this is interesting. It's a big step up for him. And then as a result of this, we're getting Kevin Holland against Jacare. Should put a little asterisk on that because as of right now, Kevin Holland is still positive for COVID-19. We hope he gets better. We hope he tests negative. But they did the old switcheroo because they took the Jacare fight, put him in the main event, and then put Kevin Holland in the Jacare fight at 256. Would you say, okay, you can't really give a firm answer on the first question. Second question, Holland's getting, as crazy as it may sound, but Jacare just isn't Jacare of old. He's probably getting the easier matchup, right? He went from Jack to Jacare. Jack beat Jacare.
Bro, Jack beat Jacare, but here's the deal. These matchups, right? For Kevin Holland, if they're standing with Kevin, Jack Hermanson's getting pieced up, Jacare is getting tuned up. They both have to try to take him to the ground to win. So I think he's going to fight a very similar style. As long as his takedown defense holds up, I think Kevin Holland will beat Jacare. Just as I thought he would have beaten Jack Hermanson if his takedown defense holds up, but he just needs to be wrestling a lot. Kevin Holland is a cool guy, and he has plans to come on train with me at AKA after his next fight. So That's cool. He's gonna come on train with me and Deron Wynn after the fight to kind of, because he's very tough. He's a good kid, really nice guy. So same type of fight, I think. I think it's the same type of fight, but I think Jacare is still very dangerous.
Can I just say something? I think we all kind of owe an apology to UFC 256. UFC 256, some way, somehow,
it's a great
pay-per-view card.
This is a great pay-per-view.
Main event, Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno, which I will be honest, I'm more interested in than Figueiredo Perez. I think it will be a closer matchup. And Moreno's a great guy.
You kind of, in Alex Perez fight, you knew he was in a big spot, but he was up against it. It just felt like he was up against it.
I spoke to Moreno last week. His family their family business is piñatas. That's what they make. They make piñatas. How cool is that? Yeah. Also, he's an avid Lego builder. All he does is like to build Legos and buy like Funk Pop dolls. I mean, the guy's fascinating. I love Brandon Moreno. I know you love this backstory stuff. You can use that on the broadcast, by the way. Lego. Say you spoke to my guy Helwani. Blah blah blah.
Dude, I will.
Okay, Ferguson Ferguson DuBronx, tremendous. We spoke about it last week. JDS versus Cyril Gane, which just kind of crept up on me. This is a big fight for the undefeated Frenchman.
For Cyril, yeah.
Renato Moicano against Rafael Fiziev, the guy who did the Matrix thing on Fight Island. Remember that?
Yep. I remember that.
Ruby SC fighter, and then Holland versus Jacare. That's the main card. Also, Mackenzie Dern. I mean, like,
it's a great card. It turned into a great card, but that's what happens. I said this a couple weeks ago when we came out with 255. It's like people kind of crap on these cards.
The 256 is better than 255.
It's better. Yeah. But people crap on these cards and then they deliver. 255 delivered for a card that did not have the star power that jumped off the page. This one, Davis and Figueiredo turn around that quick. Having the guys that are on the card, it's going to be a great card, and I can't wait. I'm glad I'm calling it.
Yes. So that's next weekend, 256. This weekend is the Fight Like Hell UFC Fight Night event, and it is now headlined by Marvin Vettori versus Jack Hermansson. If Marvin wins, I hope he cracks a smile. Like, can you just love life a little more?
Marvin Vettori wins.
Marvin Vettori is from Italy.
Wins. I mean, what's he right now? 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there? He should be in the top 5, 6 if he wins this fight.
Marvin, la vita è bella. All right, come on. You're Italian. You're supposed to be high on life. My family's from Milano. We know about being high on life. Marvin, cheer up, bud.
Marvin's just not the happiest guy, man. But maybe that's what motivates him. Maybe that's what carries him. But he did say it to my face, which is very surprising. I've had guys say stuff online that won't say it in your face, but Marvin Vettori did. He asked me straight up about it.
Grazie mille. Okay, DC, 30 seconds. We're going to talk about my most, I mean, I gotta say, I don't know if I've had this much fun in a long time watching combat sports. So stay tuned for that. But first, DC, let me tell you about our good friends over at Manscaped. We love Manscaped this holiday season, especially. DC, sing it with me now. Jingle bells, Manscaped all the way. This holiday season, give the Manscaped Performance Package to help keep men well groomed above. They didn't keep up. They kept up with the rhyme, and they left me hanging there. Anyway, to help keep men well groomed above and below the belt. Shout out to Brendan Schaub, our good friend. It comes with Manscaped's Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. You also get Manscaped's most popular electric trimmer, the Lawnmower 3.0. Both items come with Manscaped's proprietary advanced skin-safe technology, which helps prevent accidents in delicate places. Also included is Manscaped's Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver, as well as a new pair of boxers. How about that? It's all part of Manscaped's top-performing products, which you can all get in one package. Get 20% off right now and free shipping when you use the code Ariel at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. And please be sure to use the code Ariel. That's ARIEL. So DC, here I am.
It's like this code. The code is as disrespectful as you throwing holidays on me every single week. The code is as disrespectful as the show's called DC and Helwani, not Helwani and DC. Who's the A side here? Well, you need to recognize
clearly. So there I am earlier in the week, DC. And I have to say, one thing that kind of grinds my gears, I love boxing. I love boxing. I've been watching boxing long before I watched MMA. I mean, I grew up in Montreal, which is one of the all-time great fight towns. There's a guy named Davey Hilton and Stefan Ouellet, the Otis Grant and Howard Grant, the Grant brothers. I mean, boxing in Montreal is legendary stuff. And so I love boxing. And one thing that grinds my gears is I find that the boxing community, sometimes they get a little sanctimonious. They get a little bit like high on their britches, and they're like, oh, this is good, this is not good. Oh, we talk about belts, we talk about commission. And all week long, they're complaining about this Tyson Jones fight. All week long, they're complaining about the rules. They're complaining about this. These same people, DC, 4 months ago when this fight was announced, were saying, 250-year-old guys should not be fighting. Oh, they're going to ruin their legacy. It's not safe. What kind of commission would sanction this thing? Fight week. And by the way, the rules have been out for months. They somehow stumble upon the fact that, oh, wait, 2-minute rounds, 8 rounds, 12-ounce gloves, no knockouts. Like, oh, what's going on here? And they're creating this whole big stink all week long, not enjoying the event. And guess what? It turned out to be one of the most fun events of 2020. Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr., Staples Center, Mauro Ranallo, Israel Adesanya, Snoop Dogg on the call. That was fun. In the end, it ended in a draw. Probably my least favorite part of the night was the fact that it ended in a draw because, of course, we all know that Tyson won. But come on, you have to admit, you A, loved that, and B, Mike Tyson exceeded expectations. It wasn't embarrassing. It didn't hurt his legacy. In fact, it probably helped his legacy. At 54, we saw vintage Mike throwing hooks with power and ferocity It was fun. It's okay to have fun, boxing community. It's okay to have fun.
You know what's so crazy about boxing is like, I love boxing. Like I've said stories time and time again about growing up watching in Louisiana, but people start to worry. Boxing is dead. Boxing is dead. But when the world starts to pay attention, right? And pay attention when it's not just Canelo or it's not just Floyd. People are paying attention for Mike and Roy, even though it may not have been at the highest level. It's still, everybody was paying attention on boxing, and now you want to become peeved and everybody's up in an uproar. When the reality is, and I said this on my Instagram the other day, which got hundreds of thousands of views. I was like, hey, if someone told me, Daniel, you can go to Tyson Ranch, you're going to watch Roy Jones and Mike Tyson spar. All you got to do is pay $50. I'm like, hey, take my $50. I'm going.
Spar with headgear, right?
With headgear. With headgear.
Yeah,
they can wear shin pads. They can wear elbow pads. We just need to make sure these guys are protected. I would have went and watched those guys spar.
Me too.
So for it to be happening, again, honestly, I was worried. Oh, man, you know, Mike's going to try to hurt him, and you know, Roy Jones might not be able to do this, and how are they going to control him? Because the last Mike we saw, he was a madman and quit on the stool from biting. All these other things we had saw told us that Mike Tyson would lose his mind out there this weekend, but he didn't. He fought well, and Roy Jones fought good at times. Mike Tyson was much more prepared for this fight than Roy Jones was.
Amen.
Is that safe to say?
Yes.
Mike was much more prepared than Roy, right?
Yes.
He was in shape.
Yes.
He was doing these rounds like nothing. He was doing the 2-minute rounds and going back to the corner.
He could have gone 3-minute rounds. Roy couldn't.
He could have fought 12 minutes. He could have fought 12 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Tyson looked like at 55 years old, he could have fought 12 3-minute rounds, maybe not with the ferocity that he had back in the 90s, but still. And he looked good. His punches looked good. Combinations looked good. And at times, we saw vintage Roy Jones. One time, Roy Jones threw a jab. Boom. Pop Mike Tyson, right? Step with the left foot in front. Like, Roy Jones always was a guy that could cross his feet. Something you're told not to do in boxing. Roy hit him with the jab, boom, left foot cross, came back, step pivot, turned back to the center, and he was like, wow. I remember watching Roy Jones do this in his heyday, where he would pop you with the jab, move, circle back to the center, and you're chasing. Mike was chasing him. I remember watching Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's head movement looked great.
Amazing.
Dude, that was crazy. The way he was like seeing the punches and slipping, mind you, he partied himself a little bit before he left the locker room. Like, it's crazy that these guys were able to do this. Bro, it was fantastic. I loved every single part of it. I didn't like the draw. Mike won, and give it to him, but he was fine with it.
They had these three old, they had Christy Martin and Chad Dawson.
I was watching, dude. Vinny Pazienza scored a fight. They were showing his card. I was like, what is Vinny Paz doing? What is Vinny Paz watching?
But DC, when Mike Tyson fought Kevin McBride in 2005 in Washington, D.C., the Mike Tyson who fought on Saturday beats that Mike Tyson from 15 years ago.
55-year-old Mike Tyson today,
54 to be exact, yes.
Leave that Kevin McBride from 2005, age that he was at that moment, and put him in with the 55-year-old Mike Tyson from last weekend. That Mike Tyson would beat Kevin McBride.
It felt like a big event. It looked like Pride. The ring was all white. The lighting was great. Tyson was ready. And so the question is, like, does Mike Tyson have something here with this?
No. Listen. I don't want to see Mike fighting. I want to see Mike continuing to do these exhibitions. I would tune in every time to watch him go at it like this. Not all the time, but like once, maybe a couple times a year for a year or two.
But fun. For how long?
2 years.
Does this work? 2 years. But does this work like we saw him? He ended on a high note.
If he does this three times, I would watch 3 times.
I'm actually surprised you said 3.
If he does this 3 times, I'll watch him 3 times. With a Roy Jones, let's say
you want to see him fight at Holyfield?
If him and Evander start, could you imagine? That would be great to watch him and Evander kind of put on a sparring match. Like, those are the things I would like to see it. It would feel big, especially if we can watch Mike Tyson and Evander go out there, spar 8 rounds, then come together at the end. I know that the bad blood is kind of like drifted away between the two, but to see them in a combative environment and then still be okay, I would love to see that, man. I think there's value in that. I think there's value in a lot of these. I think 2 or 3 times I could watch him do it.
It's funny because as much as I enjoyed it, and especially watching him, and we talk so much in combat sports about the depressing end, right? More often than not, it ends in a depressing way. So it was nice to see him kind of go out on his own terms. I would actually be okay if he never fought again, if this was it, if this was the lasting image that we see of Mike Tyson in the ring, because DC, people almost forget Mike Tyson, I was watching an interview with Mike Tyson and Howard Stern yesterday from 2013. Mike Tyson in that interview said he was broke, said he had no money 7 years ago. Mike Tyson is far from broke right now. And a lot of credit actually goes to his wife. I believe her name is Kiki, who really turned him around from a health standpoint, from a mental standpoint, from a business standpoint. He's got this Tyson Ranch. He's got a podcast. He's got all this stuff, this League of Legends thing. Like, he is a success story now later in life, when it looked like he was going down the path of so many other boxers who are left with nothing, who are, in a depressing state and all this stuff. Tyson has really turned things around. And so I'm okay if this was it. And now he launches this new league. Now, the question to me is, okay, is there a future for a league like this? Because remember, Vitor Belfort has been trying to do something like this, and other fighters, and maybe even you come out of retirement at some point. Is there an interest in a League of Legends for combat sports where the old timers fight, or is that just a little weird because we're talking about combat sports?
But I only believe that it works it works when it's like what Mike and Roy did, where they fought hard, but nobody was getting knocked out, right? Like, you saw him landing hard punches.
But Mike was trying to knock him out.
I think Mike was hitting him harder to the body than in the head. I think he was hitting him hard, but harder to the body than he was in the head, which that to me was like crazy, because like, when did you ever think that Mike Tyson would have control in sparring? Like, he seemed to be, I know you put something the other, like, you think Mike Tyson was going easy on Roy Jones? Bro,
he wasn't.
He wasn't, bro, he wasn't going easy, but he was not trying to kill him. He was fighting with control. It looked like when me and Cain Velasquez or somebody would spar in the gym. If Khabib is sparring with Islam Makhachev, he punches him hard, but he's not trying to knock him out.
Wouldn't you say it was like a step above that? Like, he was trying to win that fight.
I feel like that's what it was.
Really?
I feel like to the body, he was hitting him really hard. And again, that's another thing. When they're hitting to the body, we hit hard, but to the head, it's like you're hitting fairly hard, but you're not going to like really knock nobody out. That's why you don't see us our guys getting knocked out in the gym, because we're never really just sitting out. I
remember there was a time when AKA was knocking everyone out over there.
We weren't getting knocked out, though. We were just getting hurt training too hard. Right. We weren't getting like knocked out cold, and nobody was going to sleep inside the gym in the sparring room. So I felt that's what it was. So I know you got on people for saying Mike Tyson wasn't going easy. Mike Tyson was fighting with control. I think he was hitting him to the body really hard. It looked like he hurt him bad in like the 6th, 7th round, but up to the head, he was hitting him hard, but not at 100%.
But here's the thing that was driving me nuts. The same people, DC, who were saying these guys shouldn't be fighting, were then complaining that there were too many rules restricting it from being a quote unquote real fight. It's like, which one is it, guys? Do you care about their health and safety, or do you not? Do you want to see 2 50-year-olds get bashed in the brains, or do you want to see them? And I thought the rules actually protected them. I think 2-minute rounds made it a better fight. And so, but this is the best part. Those same people who were complaining earlier that it was a sham that 2 50-year-olds were fighting were complaining last week that, it was a sham that they were allowing this to happen with 2-minute rounds and all this stuff. And the same people, DC, who have been calling Jake Paul a sham for fighting were then saying, you don't play boxing. Nate Robinson, you don't play boxing. So the same people who were saying Jake Paul is just some guy who has no business being in the ring, were then saying, beware, Nate Robinson. What?
Can I say something?
You get the hypocrisy, right?
Yeah, I do. But can I say something?
Yeah.
Jake Paul can actually fight.
Thank you.
All these, Jake Paul can actually fight.
Thank you.
Jake Paul can fight, and all these dudes that are just randomly calling this dude out. Dude can fight, man. I was watching him because look, I don't know who Jake Paul is. I don't know if Jake Paul can walk.
He's a polarizing guy. There's a lot that he says and does.
Jake Paul could walk right past me. I wouldn't even bat an eye. I don't know who it is. People that chasing him, I wouldn't know. But when I watched this kid fighting, did he fight somebody before already?
Yes. He's won and
he won. He won, right? So when I saw him fighting Nate Robinson, when in reality Nate knew nothing. Nate did not know what he was doing. But when Jake was hitting him and he started throwing the jab to the body, right? He started jabbing to the body. I was like, okay, this kid knows how to fight. Like, this kid knows how to fight, right? Because if you're just an internet guy, he's just headhunting. He's throwing quick. Floyd Mayweather threw jabs to the body like that. That's how Floyd would break down his opponent. It frustrates you, right? Jab to the body, jab to the sternum. And then when Nate Robinson, he hit him with some nasty check shots whenever Nate was rushing. That's what got Nate. He hit Nate with a nasty check hook and face planted him when Nate was charging him. But that's what you see. That's why all these guys that run around the world talking about how tough they are and they want to fight with the MMA guy or the boxing guy. Don't do that. It does not work, because when you're attacking an MMA fighter or a boxing guy, they see things.
But wait a second, is Jake a boxing guy? Because all this time I was told he wasn't a boxing guy.
I think he's a boxing guy. I was watching. He's a boxing guy, bro.
I agree.
Hey, and the kid trained because after the fight, I go to his Instagram and I'm like trying to see what the guy's been doing. The dude's been training.
He has a legit coach, BJ Flores. Yeah. He takes it seriously. So does his brother. I got so much hate for posting Jake Paul face off. How dare you? You're supposed to be a fight, man. The guy, say what you will about his persona. I know nothing about. I learned about them through boxing. This is a sport, believe it or not, that a lot of people, I know we don't agree with this sentiment, but this is a sport that people were saying was dying, that it's only for old folks and stuff like that. Here you have a 23-year-old kid, essentially, who's bringing younger eyeballs to a sport. And by the way, is taking it seriously, is training, and everyone's getting so mad. I think out of jealousy. I think they don't like the fact that he walks around with the shades and the teeth and the hair and the chain and acts like he's a rapper and says a lot of stuff that to me is dumb and offensive. But hey, when you talk about boxing only in a box, as a boxer, he's taking it seriously. And then after, he gets people even more upset because in the same breath, this has never happened and will never happen again. In the same breath, he calls out Dylan Dennis and Conor McGregor. No one ever has called out Dylan Dennis and Conor McGregor.
At the same time?
I want to say something right now. Jake Paul
in a boxing match? Conor beats Jake Paul in a boxing match.
Easy. I mean, that's not even a question.
Conor beats Jake Paul in the boxing match, but Jake Paul beats Dylan Dennis.
I was going to – you stole my line. Jake Paul beats Dylan Dennis. Listen,
Jake Paul beats Dylan Dennis in the boxing match.
Yes.
But Jake Paul doesn't beat Conor. Conor can box. Connor's the real deal.
Conor would whoop his ass.
I think
he beats Dylan Dennis.
I think he beats Dylan, dude. Dylan does not need to fight Jake Paul because he'll get beat up.
Dylan Dennis would do that fight tomorrow. He would do that fight. It's the biggest fight that he can get.
How's he gonna beat Jake Paul? The kid,
but he wants it.
And Jake Paul's big. He's kind of big.
189. He weighed
bigger than he looked way bigger than Nate.
Yeah, well, he's also a lot taller. Nate's, I think, 5'9". He's 6'1" or something. But here's the thing: you do the fight at 185. Look, if Jake Paul wants to progress as an actual boxer, at some point he's going to have to graduate. No, he's got to graduate from the YouTubers and the NBA players and all that stuff. And I love the NBA. NBA players can't fight. Like they can't throw punches. We all
the guys that are saying they want to fight him now, don't, guys,
please
calm down. Jake
Meta
Paul,
World Peace,
because you don't. Hey, guys, Meta World Peace, and then who's the other guy? There was another guy. Guys, you don't want to end up losing to Jake Paul. I know one thing. You don't want to lose to Jake Paul.
The memes. I feel bad for Nate.
Nate is bad. It's bad. It's bad. There was a video I saw a meme. And it was Mike Tyson and Roy in the middle of the ring, and they had Nate just laying under the rope. They said, "Man, Nate's still in there." It was like Nate Robinson was still just laying there on the ground. It's
I won't make fun of him, and I know you won't as well, because I give him a lot of credit for stepping in there. He didn't have to do that.
But why did he think? What did he do? What did he do for the life? You can't learn to box in 3 months. It takes too much time, and you could tell that kid Jake Paul has been training longer than a few months. Now, him calling out Conor, his brother calling out Floyd Mayweather, because I went down a Paul rabbit hole the other day.
Yeah, I know.
Insane. I was like, yo, who is this dude? I was like, who is this Jake Paul? It's insane. Floyd Mayweather would destroy his brother. But
Jake Paul, Dylan Dennis, you in or you out?
I'm in. Jake Paul, Dylan Dennis, I'm in.
Okay, what about this one? Anderson Silva, Roy Jones.
I'm in. I'd like to see Anderson. I'd like to see
boxing?
Anderson box Roy Jones. Yes. Not MMA. I think I'm just kind of reality is I was watching all this stuff going on last couple of weeks with Anderson. It's sad, bro.
Everyone's turning him
down.
It's
so sad, bro. Gosh. People would have given up anything to touch Anderson Silva and have him compete. And now everyone's like, nah, I'm passing. It's sad. So to see Ryzen say, yeah, we'll take it. Dude, it made my heart kind of flutter a little bit. I felt good. I was like, okay, the guy still wants to fight. You can't tell somebody when the fire's going. You really can't. But I'll prefer him in those types of situations, him and Roy.
It's too bad it's not early October, because Roy versus Anderson in an exhibition boxing match New Year's Eve in Japan would actually, I don't know if there's enough time now, would actually be kind of fun, because newer fans might not know this, but Anderson was dying to fight Roy when he was the UFC middleweight champion, the pound for pound king, but the UFC never wanted to let him do it. Roy wanted to do it. So maybe we'll see that. By the way, and this is all well and good, I just want to say this. Israel Adesanya, this man has a future in commentating. He did such a phenomenal job. Now, the one thing I didn't like that they stop rolling your eyes. Don't be jealous.
I'm not jealous. It's just that you've been beating his drum since freaking Saturday morning.
I was blown away. I was blown away by Izzy. I mean, what can't he do? What can't Stylebender do?
Can I say this?
Yeah.
First off, the champ looked like $1 million. I mean, the champ looked like $1 million.
The bow tie.
The champ looked like $1 million out there.
Yes.
he did a fantastic job on the commentary.
Thank you.
He was very like,
I don't know why I'm thanking you.
Yeah, why are you thanking me? But he was thinking, so do you represent Izzy now? But like, thank you for complimenting him. Like, shut up. But listen, he carried himself great in the moment. Snoop Dogg is great, but he's funny.
I didn't like that he was in the main event. I thought he took Izzy's shine in the main. He was good for the co-main.
He's joking, he's playing, he's messing around. Izzy handled himself well under those circumstances. But if Israel Adesanya can't call a boxing match, then he can't do commentary. He's a striker. He has to be able to do well under those circumstances. I do believe that he could do it in terms of full mixed martial arts too, or kickboxing. I think he does have a future. But this was it's like me going to call a wrestling match. You think I would shine in a wrestling match?
You trying to take credit away from?
No. I'm saying it's great. I'm saying he did great, but it's like you over here. You've been telling me for 3 days how great he did. I'm like, he has to.
He knew when to speak. He knew. By the way, he did way better than Sugar Ray Leonard. I mean, God bless Sugar Ray Leonard.
No. Listen, Sugar Ray's been doing it for years. There's no excuse for him to not.
Overrated. He's a little overrated.
Sugar Ray not to be able to. For Sugar Ray to not command the space a little bit better was very surprising. But I thought Izzy did great.
Morrow and Izzy was a match made in heaven. I want to see more of him.
Izzy was in a great situation to look like the star that he is, and he freaking took full advantage of it.
I mean, yeah.
Now, I don't agree. I was on his Instagram today. I don't know about him and the after parties and hanging out.
That was a little weird. That was a little weird.
I can't believe he did that, but don't be surprised if we, see Izzy with the COVID-19. But
hopefully not.
It's like, that's insane. I hope not. But it's just, he owned it. He looked like $1 million. He spoke well. He was very clear. He was very direct. I thought he did great.
So it was fun. It was fun to get something a little different. I think everyone who was worried that they would embarrass themselves, okay, you can chill out. They did not embarrass themselves. Listen. And there's a lot more to come. What?
You want to be, hey, listen, you can't be embarrassed. The only embarrassing thing that happened this weekend was watching the Denver Broncos with no quarterback. I mean, that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. What Roy Jones and Mike Tyson did was not embarrassing at all. Those guys did good.
And the production was great. And the music actually didn't bother me. Like, the whole thing was fun.
They could have did it at Tyson Ranch, though. That would have made it better. They didn't need the Staples Center. I get it. They want to feel big. They didn't need that big venue, but whatever.
So we'll see if this is a new promotion. We'll see if they have a future. Hearing some rumblings, maybe coming back in March. We'll see.
I heard that they sold some good pay-per-views too. I heard it did well.
I think it does. If there wasn't any streaming, I think it would do over 1 million, but we'll see. I think a lot of people probably. Anyway, I want to ask you about a new promotion, DC. What can you tell us about reports out there that your boy and mine, let's be honest, these days more my boy, because I've been having his back when no one else is having his back. Habib is buying a promotion. What could you tell us about this? Are you the new president? Are you the president? I hear that you're going to be the president. You're going to be the Dana White of the new Eagle Fighting Championships.
I didn't even know Habib was buying a promotion. I had no idea.
Well, first he puts out. Last week he puts out, "See you soon, Dana White." Then a report comes out of Russia saying that he's buying this promotion, which I believe was Guerrilla Fighting Championship, and now he's going to turn it into Eagle Fighting Championship, which I think is very cool. And that maybe they'll be working together. I don't know. I was just wondering if you can clear up the rumors that you will be put in as the head of this promotion. You'll be the Dana White of Eagle Fighting Championship.
I have no idea. I didn't even know this thing was going on. I didn't
Sounds
know
like you don't want to talk out of turn.
I saw Habib launched a mobile service. And that was kind of the last thing I saw, was that he launched a mobile service. I haven't spoken to the champ in I haven't talked to Habib in a couple weeks now, so I probably should reach out today, see how he's doing.
Seems like you're not telling us the truth.
I seriously don't know. Like this, I don't know.
What was up with that Instagram post? See you soon.
I don't know. Maybe he's in a fight. I don't know. Like, I actually don't know. It's like
every week, back forth.
Like, it's again, like, I can't continue to ask him about that as like, are you fighting? Are you not fighting? Because again, our friendship, I value more than anything on the other side. I don't want to, because the reality is this. Can I say something?
Yeah.
I don't want it to sound like crazy. Like, I value the friendship. If he wants to fight, I'm all in. If he doesn't want to fight, I don't really care. Like, so his career, honestly, like his career at this point, like, it doesn't really matter all that much, because like, I'm going to support whatever he does. If he decides not to fight, then don't fight. If he decides to fight, then fight. I don't really care. So it's not like I really spend much time like thinking about whether or not he's going to fight or not. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. No,
without being like, I'm not trying to say I don't care about Habib. I care about him as a friend.
I know.
But it's just like, I don't spend my days like wondering if he is or if he isn't. Like, that's for you to do.
My advice to him would be like, hey, Khabib, I love you. I don't want to pry. Please, when you have something to say, go to Ariel. Okay. It's been, it's uncomfortable with me and you, like, I'm your friend. I'm not a reporter.
It's just
go to Ariel.
The reality is, like I said, though, like I'm not, when I talk, we haven't even, last time we spoke, we talk about our children. Like we didn't talk about.
That's what friends do. We don't talk
we didn't talk about fighting or any other stuff. Right. So it's like, I don't know what's going on with Khabib. That's kind of like, when he's ready to talk about it to the world or to me, he'll tell me. And then, but until then, we'll talk about everything else in life. And that's what matters. Because I don't really care. I really, the guys at Islam, I care about Islam's career because it's still active right now. And that's what he's going. Khabib's career, I don't really, it don't matter all that much to me right now because, until he tells us what he's doing.
I get it. It's the diplomatic answer. I believe he'll come out, they said December 2nd and let the world know what he's doing. So I look forward to that. Two last quick things before we go, DC. Number one, got to give a shout out to Figgy, my guy, Figgy. He says, you don't give me bonus, I'm going back home. Not only did he get a bonus, he showed up in a sweet tracksuit with Dana White and he got a UFC bag
of money.
Cash. That's a shot caller. That's a baller right there. That's the new face of the UFC. Because of that power move, he's now been vaulted up to number 2 in my rankings. All right. So it's
your boy Waleed was in there. Dana, thank you, Dana. Thank you, Dana. You love Waleed. You love him, huh?
I mean, it's maybe the best pairing in MMA history, those two. And by the way, it's Waleed, the W.
Waleed.
Verdum, Waleed.
Yeah, Waleed.
But that was a power move. You have to admit.
Yeah,
it was a power move by Figgy. By the way, I don't know if you know this, former hairstylist and sushi chef.
Wait, don't tell me the same story again, bro. You've told me this like
a
million times. He does hair. Don't tell me the same story 1,000 times. He does hair. He's sushi chef. Oh, wait, maybe that was Anik. One of you guys keep telling me that this guy was a sushi chef. I'm like, I don't care if he's a sushi chef. All I care about now is that he can fight.
With Anik? God.
You guys always tell the same story.
That hurts. You're two partners. You're confused. I mean, you can't do that. You got to keep us separate. But the last thing I wanted to quickly touch on was, okay, so we're getting Conor and Dustin on January 23rd. It's still up in the air if it's going to be for a belt, if it's going to be not for a belt. We're not going to know what we're going to do with the lightweight title. It sounds like they don't want to do anything right now. Can I just ask you very quickly here, this whole notion that Michael Chandler can't come back and fight in December or January because he just cut weight in October for a fight that he didn't even fight, like he didn't actually get punched in the face. Yet we're having guys like Figgy come back on 2 weeks' notice, Khamzat coming back on 10 days' notice. Guys,
what's up with Khamzat? Is this COVID story real?
No, all good. Everyone said all good. So
Khamzat's still good.
As of right this second, still good.
Okay, good.
But what's this thing?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead, Michael.
What's this thing? Have you heard this thing about Chandler? He just cut weight so he can come back.
I just saw something today that Chandler put that said training camp starts today.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
I just saw that.
But the last
Chandler's
2 weeks,
gonna fight.
Yes, but why can't he come back if he cut weight in October when other guys are cutting weight and fighting and coming back in a week or 2 weeks?
Well, I mean,
they're really protecting this guy. I mean, I feel
you got to think about it. You got to be honest. You got to think about this. Though. This is the prize. This is the prize jewel. This is the prize jewel. He's got to be careful with how you handle this Chandler situation. I mean, so you got to be very strategic in how you let him take on the world. And I agree. I agree 1,000% with the Chandler stick right now. I think it is fantastic. I think he's got everybody so frustrated. I don't know how he's managed to get the organization doing it with him. It's like he's not even doing it by himself no more. It's like he has got the organization helping him to just piss everybody off. It is the most amazing play that you've ever seen a free agent have, because he could just sign up like Ben Askren did. He could just sign up, right? He could just make, okay, I'm fighting Robbie Lawler. He just signed up. And everybody was like, oh, cool, Ben Askren's making his UFC debut. Now everybody's still waiting for Michael Chandler. They're anticipating Michael Chandler. It's phenomenal.
All
Chandler
they have to say is
it's exactly right.
All they have to say is he's going to fight on January 23rd, and that's all good. He's on the con. But what they're saying is he can't cut weight twice in 3 months.
Hey.
He's Shawn Michaels. He's Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels in 1997 right now.
If I'm Michael Chandler, if I'm Chandler, I don't want my fight announced until late December, early January. Then it seems like I'm a suit. Oh my goodness, Chandler is now taking a fight on 3 weeks' notice. I don't want till January 2nd announce that I'm fighting. Even if I know, don't announce my fight until January 2nd. Make it seem like in 21 days I'm going to step on the scale for my UFC debut, and then If you're Chandler, you step up there 155 on the dot looking ripped and just kind of do, you know, that whole thing though that Michaels used to do like this and just kind of give it all to him, Chandler. Like if I'm Chandler, I'm playing this thing up all the way to the mountaintop.
Ravishing Michael Chandler. What a gimmick. What a gimmick he has right now.
Oh, that's a great name. Ravishing Michael Chandler. Oh, that's great.
All right. So that's the story, DC. Once again, UFC back this Saturday, December 5th. It's now Jack Hermanson.
Hey, big shout out to Ariel Helwani and Jacqueline Helwani for the new chair for Luna.
Oh,
what? Talk about burying the lead.
Wow.
You want to talk about quality people? You talk about the Helwani family out in Jersey. I mean, big package shows up to the house. Luna with a personalized chair for her sitting pleasure. When she's old enough to watch Sesame Street, we can just sit her in there. And I can always say, hey, this is from Uncle Ariel. He took care of you and Aunt Jacqueline. I mean, thank you, baby. Thank you, Helwani.
Well, after the comment, last week about her cooking.
Mazel tov. Mazel tov.
Thank you.
Mazel tov. Thank you. Mazel tov.
Thank you.
Hey, what about that yarmulke? The yarmulke.
Okay, stop it now. Stop it.
Look, what about the other day I FaceTime you? You got on your yarmulke. You're like, you're wearing your yarmulke.
It was Saturday night.
Saturday night. I loved it. I swear, I loved it, Ariel.
It was a spiritual moment for me to be watching Tyson and Jones. I had to put on the yarmulke.
Your yarmulke.
Yarmulke.
You say yarmulke, but spell it like yarmulke.
Yeah, the L is silent.
Danny Rubenstein was very surprised that I could spell yarmulke.
Well, you may have gotten a little help.
I spelled it right.
Yeah, I helped you.
Right?
I helped you.
I'm really like staying in touch with my boys. Like I'm
Happy Hanukkah, my brother. Happy Hanukkah, my brother. There we
go.
Okay, again, stuart.threadless.com. That's where you can purchase this sweet shirt in honor of the late great Stuart Scott, the man himself. And hey, maybe we'll put DC's shirt. I think that shirt could actually go for like $250. Forget about $25.
I'll sell this thing.
The bootleg Booyah shirt. DC's bootleg Booyah.
Hey, it's like I'm one of those stands outside New York City somewhere where I'm just turning on
outside the concert.
Shirts, baby. I'm stealing designs. ESPN's gonna sue me. I'm stealing designs and everything.
You're the guy standing outside of Madison Square Garden with like the bootleg Rock Austin shirt.
Yeah.
After WrestleMania.
Just look bad too, because then I didn't put it on.
After one wash, it fades away. It's classic. It's so classic. Again, it's all to support the Stuart Scott Cancer Memorial Research Fund. This Saturday show, the UFC event is called UFC Fight Like Hell Fight Night. You gotta love it, and it's headlined by Jack Hermanson versus Grazie Mille Marvin Vettori. All right, DC. Good luck out there in our nation's capital. Thanks for joining us today. Another great episode of the show. We do want to remind everyone to continue to rate, download, subscribe, and review. Hello to everyone on the live chat. I mean, you talk about crazy people over there. Those are some crazy people. We love you all. Back next week, same time and place. Until then, we say peace. We're out of here.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.